Recording in progress.
Awesome.
Great. So all right, do you want me to go, Sam?
Yep, go ahead. All right, got you spotlighted. Let's roll.
Oh, so fun. Yay. No. All right. So tonight we are going to, well, first off, for those of you who don't know me, I am Tiffany, the star director of the Senate Herd. And I'm here with Sam, star director. Go ahead, Sam, shout yourself out. I'm not going to do it.
Southern Star Sensations. If you don't know me, hello. And we are so excited to train. Woo!
Yes. And this is the training that we want you guys to refer back to, share with your teams. You know, it's kind of like a blueprint, but not really. Like, I don't want to call it that word because there's other things out there. But it's kind of like a walkthrough of how you can build a solid foundation of your business. So this training, we are calling it Operation Reach for the Stars. And the reason that we're saying that, we're not saying in this one, shoot for the moon, do this. We intentionally picked the name Reach for the Stars because this is all about building or becoming a star consultant. So you think about it. It's either, however you are in your business, whether you're essential or you're a superstar director, it doesn't matter, right? So yes, you're going to be at different levels, clearly, but the whole point of either becoming a star consultant or building star consultants is the exact same, playing field that we want you guys to really think about and help build that foundation by helping to become star consultants. And obviously once you become, you just keep building them. So it all works. So we're going to go over the what, the why, the breakdown of how to do these things. We're not just going to say, go do them. And that's that. We're going to give you the breakdowns. We're going to give you what we know to work for us through trial and error, what we have seen, obviously experienced, and all that stuff. So it doesn't matter if you just joined today. It doesn't matter if you joined when the company started. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether you've just joined, you have someone about to join, this can help you. You have someone who, I said just joined already. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. This whole spotlight thing's throwing me off a little bit.
Big screen. Oh my God.
Or even if you're at a point in your business where you're just not sure where to start or where to go, or if you're feeling stuck or in a rut, or you're just like, I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know where to go from here. Okay. Everyone's doing this, that, the third, this, that, the third, and they have all the fluff. And you see all the fluff, right? We're trying to get you to cut the fluff, come back into basics, come back into the basic things that you've trained on, and do those things. So some things that I have written down here is that basics, like I said that. So whether we're talking about parties, and you guys are going to hear me say this over and over and over again, parties. And how is that going to help your business? Parties, that is where you meet your customers, you network, you meet more and new people. That's where you can flip your hosts. That's where, flipping your hosts, you get your best customers to join. Your best customers turn into your hosts, which turn into your team members. It's just, there it is. So we're going to go over all those things and break it down of kind of like a step-by-step, but also hold you accountable to know a little bit about what's in your workstation. And if you don't, tell you where to go to find it. Because at the end of the day, we want you guys to be successful. And I know that us that are in this group journey together, some of you, we are your upline, and some of you, we are not. And I'm going to be very honest, when it comes to Sam and I, we don't care if you're not under us. We want to help you blossom and grow the best you can as well.
Absolutely.
And if you're under us, right, we want the same things for you. You guys, because the grand whole idea of this is that, yes, we're going to on this journey together, because together we're much better than we are in competition, which is just icky and gross, and I can't handle it.
No.
So I'm going to pass it over to Sam. She's going to go over some of the meat and potatoes of this with you guys, and I will monitor the chat. And at the end of this, so we're going to go through the checkpoints. We're going to go through a couple other little things here and there. Then we're going to do a recap, and then we are going to do a Q&A. We're going to stop the recording and do a Q&A after, because this will be posted to YouTube. So I want you guys to, when we stop the recording, you know, obviously feel free to ask the questions all you want, and we can, you know, chat it out. All right, so Sam, remove this. It's all you.
They remove this.
Yay.
All right, and so Tiff, feel free to hop in at any point in time. But just reiterating what she said, I know you guys have seen us in that team page, you know, the last couple of days, been posting, you know, about parties and sharing other trainings. And I keep pointing over here like you guys can see it, but like there's all my pouch parties to go out. And just by simply asking, and parties and the basic, when you're trying to figure out these people, or you've met people from your parties and you've got them ready to jump in, it's like, okay, well, what do I do with them? So jumping into, and the whole thing when we talked about this in February, we said operation because we're like, okay, this is our mission, depending on what you want for your journey in Scentsy, is either like mine, I don't want to have to work another job if I don't have to. I mean, I currently love my consulting job. So honestly, if I was still in the SSD, I would, you know, and what I call making bank, and making bank to me is like 10,000, I mean, or more really, then I would still do what I love, but having the ability, having the freedom, the flexibility to not have to if I didn't want to type deal. So your mission, whatever it is, whether you just want to be able to pay a house payment, a car payment, you want to go to the top, you want to change lives, change the world one person at a time, you choose to accept the mission of what you want. And then this whole operation is how do we get there? So that's what we called like the checkpoints of what this cycle looks like. So even as a visual of, if you're building your circle of the rotation of kind of what this process in Scentsy Life is, that the first thing is, okay, you've got somebody. So what do? Well, you want to focus heavily. Your first checkpoint is shooting star. So once they sign up, you are going to get them to go through the basics of, they need to do a launch party. Most of the time, if they are not earning shooting star, then it's because they've not done a launch party. And so whether they have already done a party and they flipped the party, do the earn a kit to do it, you know, and that was their launch party, or they do the launch party after that they just signed up, they joined on join promo, they did the $99 kit, whatever they're doing, is that you are trying and training them for shooting star by going through the basics of have your launch party, start them off with their list of the 100, go there. So those first 15 days, you are trying to get them to earn shooting star. So once you get that, that's your first checkpoint. And there are resources in the team page. Your workstation has a great training center, but they can't sign up and you can't just leave them out to dry. You've got to implement something, some way, somehow, and you've got to teach your front line that comes on or comes on up under you. You've got to teach them to do the same. So you want to have something, and every time that you do this, you need to think about in checkpoints things that are duplicatable, that they are simple. Scentsy has made it simple. They don't want something hard. We, as consultants, tend to make it hard as we get in either competition with each other, adding the fluff, that if somebody did this, so we got to do it bigger and better. No. Scentsy's whole thing, there's a reason why simplicity is in their core values. So keep it simple, and it always goes back to the basics of sales, sponsoring, and then leadership. So, all right, so you are going to train them for shooting star, and as they earn that, their next goal is then to certify. So your next checkpoint is we want to make sure that our folks are certified, because, and I will tell people every time, whether you want to join because you want to change the world and you want to retire and you want to do this, or if you want a discount, the best goal I'm going to try to get you to is certified, because you earn, y'all know, you get a pay raise. Why would you want to sit back and do this and make less when you could make more? Just once you get there, you're set. So you always want to get them certified. Like, to me, that's huge. Yes, in an incentive period, there is an extra incentive to get them certified, but I mean, the pay alone, like 5% increase should be your goal, like should be enough incentive for it. So you want to get them certified. So you do the shooting star, 15 days, 500, and they get that. Okay, let's get certified in 15 more days. Let's get 500 more. Then that way, because if you're trying to build on that excitement on, you know, depending on when they join, if you grasp that, if you just let them fall through the weeds, then they're going to lose that excitement. So if you keep on that excitement, you can build on that excitement. So you do the 15 days. I'm like, all right, let's do the next 15 days. Let's get certified. And trying to find, as they're doing launch parties, trying to get people to book off their launch parties to help them have parties to help with certification. So then Sensational Start is
Can I just butt in real quick?
Come on.
Because it's going to lead you into your next point.
Mm-hmm.
I just remembered it because as we saw in that training, if anybody else watched other training that we posted earlier this week, once they're hitting certified and they have 1,000 lifetime, it's time to start looking for a team member.
Yep, that was some of SSD, Amber Ryan, some of her best, or no, that was Katie Lassiter. Was, so in her basics of her business, she always makes sure she has her PRV first. And then, because you've got to take care of your business, even though you're leading, but you can't lead them at 0 PRV or 100 PRV and expect them to shoot the moon. So you've got to lead, and that's why we are trying to show you, Tiff and I, we're trying to show you what we're doing to know that we've got to do it too. We can't just sit back and go, oh, hey. So we're always going to show you that we're leading and that we're leading from the front by doing the things that we're asking you to do. We're not going to say, oh, you should do this and us not do it. These are things that you're implementing, things that have worked, and what we're trying to grow that life cycle and what's going to benefit you guys. So with that this is what, Katie Lassiter, I think it was like she promoted like 2 years and under to SSD by doing things and what has worked for her, and it's something they can try. She gets her 1,000 PRV, she starts looking at who could be that potential new team member. So with that, and that's where we say, the parties, the basics that you've got to have, because if you're going, well, who do I ask? You need to look at who the big customers are. So if, you just joined or your person joins and then they've got this amazing customer that's ordering a couple $100, that's where you start asking, you start getting involved. Because when you're in Sensational Start in that first 70 days, that's a huge checkpoint that, okay, we've got them to certified. Then yes, Sensational Start can be earned off PRV, but if you're going to build a big business, a solid business, if you're going to build a strong business that's going to have a strong foundation, you're going to earn Sensational Start off of sponsoring and PRV. It's not just going to be the PRV alone, because I can sell till the cows come home, but if I don't have people, I ain't going anywhere and you're not earning any incentives. So that's why the business and people are designed, so you can't just sell and sit back. So Sensational Start, when they are looking at that, and honestly, I try, and I say the checkpoints, like we've broken it out saying one at a time, because if you have a new consultant who comes on and you word vomit and tell them everything that they need to accomplish in the first 70 days, you're going to probably scare the crap out of them, because they're going to go,
you're going to get ghosted.
This ain't for me. And I used to do that. And then I was like, yeah, it's a little overwhelming, but nothing. That's a lot of information. So I don't even tell them about Sensational Start till we get past Shooting Star. And then if there's a struggle for certified, it's then some kind of, like we're stepping to, like if it's something that's been delayed, then, you need to reevaluate so that it's not the end of their 70 days. So in that Sensational Start, that 70 days that you are, I'm going to make sure because that one connects to me. So in that 70 days, we are trying to get them to that Sensational Start. Level 3 is always the goal. But we make sure that they know, and then that they are doing it by sponsoring. And then because as soon as they sponsor their first person, so as soon as they sponsor, they're a leader. As soon as you sponsor, you're now considered a leader. And so this is where you've got to start. You got to make sure your business is solid, but you've got to start training them to lead their people as well. Now, to say, especially if it, like me, I know personally, like I didn't want anybody to join my team at first. I was just like when poor Ashley, I said it every time, was that poor girl, she's like, I want to join your team. I was like, why? What's wrong with you? And I still apologize to her to this day. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But you don't want to have that mentality with it. You want to be like, okay, and it's so overwhelming to go, I don't know what to do. What do I do? This is where you've got upline, you've got team members, you've got people, us, family, even if we're not official team members, that is going to help you with this. But these are why, if you go through the basics yourself or teaching your others, as they get people, they're going to teach it. And that's why we keep it simple. Because as they start doing it, then you say, okay, you know, the reminders of a leader that you need to be paid at title, you've got to have 500 PRV in. So that's why we say aim hard to get your 500 in as soon as you can in the month, because as a leader, that's what you need to get paid at title. So you want to get and develop that habit of at least having the 500 and then meeting your goals. So as you start gaining people in Sensational Start or afterwards, that's when the promotion to lead happens, and you start looking. And this is where I'm going to tease the compensation plan, saying about looking at it. Tiff's going to dive into it some, but knowing what you need until you go, okay, so I got my 500, got somebody, we have the volume. All right, so we've promoted to lead consultant. And as they get their people, and if they start recruiting, that they start going through shooting star, certified, sensational start. Okay, so you're repeating that cycle with new frontline, and you promote to star. So you've got 2 frontline now. You've got the PRV. They are building their teams, and you promote. You've got that 2,500 GWV, and you promote to star consultant. And so then, as you're able to maintain and be paid at title by getting that you're consistently getting your 500 PRV, you know, say the first 2 weeks of the month, that, you know, or by the 10th of the month, you set your goal of what you're aiming, that you're doing that. The ways that you're doing that is you are taking care of your customers, you're getting your sales, you are partying, you're taking care of your host, and you're flipping host, and you're teaching, you know, you're getting your best customers joined. It all always goes back to the basic, and it's very simple. Your 3 legs to success are going to be your sales, your sponsoring, and then your teaching and coaching. And then that top of the stool, because we've shared that image before, it's in the group page, is the self-care. So you make sure you take care of your sales, and then in your team, your front line is taking care of their sales, and then their front line is taking care of their sales in the month. And everybody, I didn't know this when I promoted to star. I didn't know that everybody under me, that all their volume counted. I was like, whoa, that's cool. I didn't know that could happen. And they was like, yeah, okay. Hence, it goes back to what Tiff's about to dive into. Know your compensation plan. So once you start getting into that, you'll start noticing if I had a drop, well, I do have a drop race board, I was going to say, if I start writing on it that says, okay, so we've got them shooting star, certified, they're sensational star, they've got a team member, they've promoted to lead, they've promoted folks, and star consultant, boom. You want to repeat that cycle. Because there you go from A to B, you know, you go through all the checkpoints, it's going to create the cycle that you formed a star consultant. Now, and you want to build them throughout your front line as large as possible, because one, if you know your compensation plan, you know why. Frontline is important. It's very important. You'll hear all the time that we say you've got to build your front line wide. And then as you're repeating the cycle, and you've got star consultant, star consultant, star consultant, star consultant. And I don't know, do you want me to pause for the compensation plan, or
yeah, because I'll go into that with them.
All right, so you've built this cycle off of doing sales, which are going to be through parties. You're going to do it through taking care of your customers, and then you're going to be following up with your customers. You don't have to have a complicated follow-up system. Keep it simple. Do what works for you. What works for me doesn't work for you. It might not, but what works for you may not work for me. It may not work for Tiff, Sarah, Sam, like it may not. So don't try to do what everybody else does. Do what you do and do it well, and keep it simple in the process, because as you're teaching your team and you're going through shooting star and the parties, if you show a big complicated party, they're not going to want to teach their folks complicated parties. They want simple. So that's why you want to get the simplicity down and be able so that you can train, because then it's going to lay this foundation And so now, Tiff, I'm going to spotlight you so you can talk with the compensation plan, and we'll go into the next portion.
Okay. Hold on, I'm closing the chat so I don't get like, I mean, no one's put anything, but like just because it just brings me all centered and my, you know, OCD won't get crazy. So, okay, the compensation plan. The reason why we know that the compensation plan, one, is available to you on your workstation. It is available in your catalog. Scentsy does not hide a thing when it comes to the compensation plan, upfront and honest. But what I want to chat with you guys about is, I'm going to start a little bit back where when Sam was talking about the sensational start levels.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at sensational start level 1 and the requirements for sensational start level 1, they coincide with promoting to lead consultant.
There's a reason for that.
Right. So like you're getting that. And then sensational start level 2 or 3 kind of coincides with promoting to star. So to dive into it just a little bit, because you can find this, and do not jump up here right now. This is going to be fun. No, it's the cat. He was asleep. So anyway, so he's gone. With talking about, you know, having you, if you're new, because if you're new, like I get it, take this piece by piece, okay? Familiarize yourself with stuff on the workstation and just start with the sensational start levels. And if you're new, obviously you have a sponsor who can be taking you through these steps and teaching you how to do these steps, so then you can then teach your people and then teach your people how to do it.
But so they don't have help from your sponsor. Sorry to cut out, but then come to us. Come to the next, like, you see your family tree or whatever you want to call it, your genealogy in your workstation. If you're, because I know there's some on this call that they signed up and their sponsor didn't do anything. Hey, come coming up. Like, or even if you're not on,
come to the side, whatever you want to do.
We're here. Don't feel like, oh, my sponsor doesn't do anything, so I can't ask. We are not untouchable, unreachable. This is why you've got this journey family of teams that's here for you. Carry on.
Yes. Okay. So with lead consultant, right, and some of you may know this, but with promoting to lead consultant, you need at minimum, I'm going to say at minimum for all of these numbers, and there is a reason. You need at minimum 500 PRV. You need at minimum 1 active front line. I don't care who's all in the down line at this point. I'm talking front line. Personally sponsored by you. Okay? Then you need together your GWV, which is 75% of your PRV, is 1,000. Okay, which breaks down to $1,334 if you round up like I do.
Yes.
Yes, no, I don't have these numbers in front of me. I took the time when I started to really learn the compensation plan. If I was going to make this a business, I need to be able to spit those numbers out like it's nothing.
Just like any other job, you would find out and ask, how much am I going to make? Do I get raises? How often do you give that? If you're going to any other job, you're going to find that out. So if you're doing Scentsy as a business, what would make it any different?
You've got to know this this compensation plan, like I said, is not hidden. It is in every catalog you have. It is on the workstation. It is accessible anywhere you need to look. I think it's even on the website. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's even on the website. Like, they don't hide it. So get familiar with it. I don't care if this is day 1 or day 10,000,701. Get familiar with it, right? So when I say minimums, I tend to shoot for like a little bit more. So like I'd be comfortable, like get 2 people, 2 frontline. That makes it easier for you guys to get to lead, okay? Then when you get to star or sensational start level 2 and that PRV requirements here and the sponsoring requirements 2 more, it's 2 people. You're going to want, I know Sam said earlier, if you get 2 people and then they start building people, you're going to get to star by having the 2,500 GWV. or in Tiffany terms, 3,334 PRV. Again, I round up. I don't do that whole cent mess. Then you're going to hit that. But I'm going to tell you, it does happen with 2 active frontline. It does. But if you only have 2 frontline, don't bank on both of them doing stuff. You always want to kind of overcompensate because it takes more of the weight off, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So maybe go for that 3rd. Go for that sensational start level 3 where you have more. I don't know if it's 3. I'm maybe a sensational start. It's been too long. I thought it was 2.
Yeah.
Okay. But go for that 3rd person. You're building a business here. I don't care if you just want to go get your hair done each month. That ain't cheap. Around me, that's not cheap at all. And it's well worth every penny most of the times. Like I say, it's well worth my pennies. It's well worth my pennies and then some. But
You have a
so
good hair, it's worth it.
I do. I mean, I could knock on this wall and just say hi to her if you really wanted me to. But I want you to kind of overcompensate for that, because here's the thing. When we're talking about building star consultants, right? Let's say that you're sitting at star consultant and you are starting to build star consultants, right? The reason why you don't want to have just 2 is if you're sitting at star consultant and this person's sitting at star consultant, honey, you're not getting paid off them. You're not making that money off them, because you do not get paid if they are the same rank. So you got to stay a step ahead. And that's where we say lead from the front, because if you're leading from the front, you're going to be doing the same activities they're doing. So you might be sponsoring maybe 2 people at one time or 2 people in a month. That's perfectly normal and A-okay. So when we're talking about, I get a little on a tangent here, but anyway, so if you're building star consultants, right, and they're getting paid at title, let's just think about them, right? And let's say you now have 4 star consultants under you who are all getting paid at title. That means your GWV, without counting your PRV, is 10,000. 10,000 GWV is director. This is why you build star consultants. But don't forget yourself, because you need to have at minimum, notice the minimum, 500 PRV. That is leadership PRV. That is the minimum leadership PRV you need to have in order to get paid off of any downline at any leadership title. You could be a superstar director with 700,000 GWV. If you have $499 in PRV, $499, you're not getting paid off all that other stuff. You're going to make your little 25% off of your $499. Do you get what I mean? It doesn't matter if you have $499 and 99 cents. So you need to be paying attention, making sure you're aiming a little bit over that. In the beginning, sure, aim for 500. And then maybe boost it to 550. Then maybe whatever, okay? But keep that in mind. And if you want to start getting in the routine, in the habit of hitting these GWVs that are needed at titles and getting paid off of them, you need to first start with your practice getting your 500 PRV in. And I'm going to tell you now, you don't practice by buying it yourself.
No.
Because Heidi and Orville will tell you from the beginning, it's the one thing that's stuck in my brain from the very beginning of this business, and I say it all the time 7.5 years later. You spend Scentsy money on family, not family money on Scentsy. If you're spending family money on Scentsy, you're doing it wrong. And we need to talk and figure out how to get you to do it right. Yep. Because that's not how it works. So let me get off that high horse because I'll get on it. I'll ride it around the town. But so know this compensation plan. Know what you need. You can, I'm not going to read everyone to you, but if you have 4-star consultants, this is Operation Reach for the Stars. That gets you that 10,000 GWV with 4 frontline star consultants. Okay. And once you hit, and that takes you to director status. Okay. But since you're teaching them to do the same thing, now you're, well, let me stop because that's Sam. Let me stop. I was going in and I was saying, let me stop right there. So know this compensation plan. Do you want to know how I learned the compensation plan? I'm going to be honest. Trained on it. Still wasn't right. So home office actually trained me on the compensation plan. I know this thing like the back of my hand. Know it like the back of your hand. Because this, as much as we're all in this business to be friends and travel and meet people and have that community, we're also in it to make money, and never be ashamed of that. You need to make money to feed your children, raise your family, put gas in your car, to do whatever it is you need to do. You need to make money. You can be kind when doing it though. But I'm going to pass it back to Sam so she can start with my building star consultants builds all the fun stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Getting ahead of myself.
Back to me. No, you're good. I was going to let you go.
I'll do the chat.
Keep
Oh,
going.
you got it.
Okay. I closed it out on mine. Okay. So we're drilling in the star consultants, right? Orville, one of the last things he said to star directors on the call before he left was how important it was to build star consultants, because star consultants builds directors. And if, like Tiff had said, if you and all your people are all star consultants, but as you naturally get them, then you're going to promote to superstar consultant, and then you're going to promote to director, so you're always paid, and not everybody not being paid because you're all the same. So you got to do your work too. Hence why we're saying get your stuff in early, so that's never an issue. But then as you build those, okay, so then you promote to director. Well, if you're teaching your people, they're teaching their people, and you keep it going and you keep building those strong legs, and guess what happens when you've got your front line who start doing the same thing, and they've got their 4-star consultants and their director. And then when you've got another front line that does it and their director, when you have two front line directors and you've got the GWV, the PRV, and the frontline consultant requirements, you're a star director. And then guess what? You don't just stop at 2 directors. The tip top of the compensation plan is when you have 4 frontline directors and you have the requirements with it. And if people are building these solid foundations and each of your frontline is building legs of successful consultants by promoting, and they just don't stop there, but once you get to star consultant, and that's when you're going to start seeing on your paychecks, that when you start, you promote lead and yes, you make off of it, but where you really see money start coming in is when you promote star consultant. So then each time it goes up, you do that. So director, and then promoting to star director. Now there's a spot where you don't see as much difference in the pay. However, when you're still building those legs, then you promote to superstar director. That is where, what I call, you make bank. That's where that magic really starts happening. You have the ability throughout with PRV, because like we said, that's what you can control. You can control what you sell, and you can, but if you want to get to the point where you don't have to sell thousands and thousands of dollars, then you're building those strong legs, which then it's like, it's like a Lego house. If you think of those base plates, because I have an 8-year-old and that's how we refer to things. We've got Lego. So we've got the base plate, right? That's us. And then when you're building them, the star consultants, it's like a corner, right? So when you got the 4-star consultants and then you've got your stuff, that's when you start building up. It's when you become a director. When you build that up, and then you've got another leg over here that starts up. So you've got your foundation, and then you've got another leg and another leg. Okay, well, you're star director. And then the other ones, well, then you're superstar. And then you just build off of it. You don't want your foundation to crack. You don't ever want to lose your team or not get paid at title or have to drop down. And if you drop down, it's okay. DQ, dropped down to superstar consultant, but it only happened for the month because then I re-promoted that month because I wasn't going to let it happen. So it's okay if it does, but it would have been better had I known how to do it, and probably wouldn't have went through losing it because really didn't know a whole lot what I was doing. And side notes and tidbits of, if people don't want it, you can't force it. Don't try to force that leg if they don't want it. Go to the next leg. If they say, hey, I'm here to do it as a hobby, that's great. Let them stay over here, start a new leg. Find the ones that are willing to work and that want it and build the legs from there. Because pushing the ones that don't want it is not going to do anything but waste your time, exhaust you, and eventually could lose your business over it. So it's not worth the ones who don't want it. If they don't want it and then they do one day, you can come back in. But if you don't waste your time. Train them differently. That's okay. I still say, hey, go for certified because you need a pay raise. But if that's not their thing, do not waste your time. So then building the star consultants builds directors. Building directors builds big businesses. And if you look at, and we've shared in the team page, and these SSDs who are bringing in big money, life-changing money to you and me and other people all look different. Like I said, 10,000 a month is like huge. So you figure out what you want. The people that are making 10, 20, 50, 90, 100 grand more, they have frontline directors. Frontline directors, once you hit, and I know y'all are all going to go study the compensation plan, and I point because like I've got one right there. Keep it printed out on my board. That especially when you hit SSD, your third gen directors. So you've got your directors and then their frontline directors and then their frontline directors. That is where your money comes in. Your big money comes from third gens. So you want to teach them, and guess what? Because at the beginning of the month though, September 1st, everybody starts at zero. They have to repeat the cycle themselves. And even if you're at the top, if you have, when your legs promote and you've got your directors, they pull out and become your group. So then you have your team and you have your group. And it's very important to know at that point what that difference is, because you still have team requirements and you don't want to have a big group of tens of thousands of consultants bringing in all this money, but then your team suffers. And guess what? You don't want to have the chance that, say you're making big money and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, but I'm not really growing my team. My group's growing, but your team. So you can never lose focus of growing legs, because you know what? If they don't hit the requirements, you don't hit the requirements because you have a small team, but you have a massive group. If you don't hit those numbers, you don't get paid. And don't ever say like, oh, that's not going to happen, because it happens all the time. People think they get to the top, but since he has it designed, you can't just go to the top and you can't sit back. You still have to work. But if you are used to doing the business basics and you keep doing it, it's going to be more natural. And it's just that natural rotation and the natural flow and progression. Because as you start building people up, you're naturally going up and you're bringing them with you. So they've got design. Everybody can go to the top. It's just a matter of who's going to work. And things that are going to set them out are not being exhausted from, wasting their time on certain runs. And some people surprise you sometimes, and some people just disappoint you as well. But you have got to keep it simple. Do the things that work. Do your basics. If you ever feel stuck or you feel like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, or I don't know what to do. One, you may or may not be working your business, but then two, it's always go back to the basics. PRV, sponsoring. You've got to have your PRV. If you don't have PRV, you can't sponsor. I mean, you can, but there's no point. So you got to have sales solid. Then you got to have sponsoring, and you've got to be able to train them. So don't get it fluffy. Don't get it complicated. Teach them how to do it so they can teach their people and so forth. Because you decide why you're doing this, write it down, put it up, whatever you got to do. And that's what you're aiming for. Yes, it could be the big paycheck, but it could be the freedom to be home with kids. It could be the retiring the husband so he doesn't have to go to a job he hates. I mean, you can pick what you want to do. It's not going to happen overnight. And usually, when it's the hardest trek and you go, this sucks, I don't want to do it, that's usually then right behind it when magic happens. So
I just want to interject really quick. I was just finishing that sentence. What'd you say?
I said I took the spotlight off, so yeah.
Oh, you're still on my spotlight.
Oh.
So I just want to interject because did you spotlight someone else?
Mm-mm. Ooh, I'm about to spotlight you.
Okay. So the thing I want to just add into a little projector that like inject a little bit here of what Sam was saying when she was talking about, you know, when you eventually grow to be a superstar director, or maybe you're there now. And the whole thing about like, if your group gets real big and your team is shrinking, that's the whole point of building star consultants. You don't stop building star consultants because if you've got some directors here, and if you're teaching them to the same thing, they're going to build directors and their directors are going to build directors. You kind of get that point, but you don't want to stop building your star consultants. That's where this whole thing kind of comes home at.
It's the foundation for your business.
Yes, because you can't build a foundation on rocky ground.
No, it's way harder.
And there are basic training methods: partying, sharing the opportunity, making your opportunity packets. And where you find all your basic training is right on your workstation or in this group page. But on your workstation, there's so much stuff. I'll never forget. Like, I know a lot of people, like I said, I know you get sick and tired of hearing me say it. Parties, parties, parties. You're probably like, here comes this girl. Now we merge. And now she's just slamming parties down our throat. I'll never forget sitting in my little condo with me, pregnant, child running around, being like, ugh, my PRV is horrible this month. Like, guys, literally, it was like 300. Okay. Like, I'm being very honest and real here. Playing around on the workstation, pretending to be busy by just checking numbers. Guys, checking numbers is not busy work, but that's what I thought. That's what I was doing. And I pulled up the trainings in the workstation, and I pulled up a training, and it was SSD, Christina Stainbrook's training. I wasn't even a year in yet. I don't even think I was 6 months in yet. And she said that she can tell who in her downline is having parties by their PRV. She can tell who is partying by their PRV. And that hit me. I was like, oh man, they can see what I'm doing. That's kind of accountability. Oh crap. My sponsor is Kristen. And I was like, Kristen can see if I'm partying. She's going to call me out. And that has always stuck with me because I like to have accountability. So parties I don't care if your party just gets to 200 and you do 5 parties, it's 1,000 PRV. In the grand scheme of things, in order to hit leadership PRV, it's 2 parties at $250.
Or 1,500.
Right. But I keep it low because if you keep your expectations low with your parties, you're not going to be like, oh, parties are stupid. I'm never going to hit my party goal, right? Because I see people get into that.
Odd party is my goal. If it qualifies, that's the goal. And then I'm like, if you got people active, then it's like, let's get 500 because that's where your rewards are going to increase. But right. I totally agree.
Yeah. But when you're looking at your numbers to get your leadership PRV, to break it down in those small chunks, look at each party that's just going to do 200, right? If you only want to do 2 parties, okay, well, get on that party and sell an air purifier. It's 250.
Mm-hmm.
In the grand scheme of things, you got to sell 2 air purifiers a month to hit your leadership PRV. So, but go back to your basics. Okay, sorry, tangent. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
overview is parties. Go on your parties, go on what you know, go back to your basics in your workstation, go to the team page, ask for ideas. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Anyone have any ideas? Has anyone tried it? To help build those star consultants. But the biggest thing is, yes, you're training your star consultants, obviously, to become stars. You need to teach them how to teach. Teach them how to teach. There are trainings all over about it. You can go to YouTube and type in Coach the Coach. Okay, that's bringing it home. I don't really have much else to say.
And check out the guides in the team page, because we've got, I think they're called guides now, like the units and stuff. That Facebook changed it so much, but guides, units, and all that jazz that it's in there. There's, like I said, there's plenty of, like Tiff said, trainings out there. But some people are natural born leaders. Some struggle with it. Some need structure, and that is the biggest thing. Why we say, if you keep it simple. And I love when some were talking about, like, they feel like they have to, when you had brought up like busy work, make sure you're not like, evaluate what you're doing to be income producing. And that's a big realization for me, where, if your office is a mess and you're like, well, I've got to do that before I can do this. And I've got to, make all these orders look cute before I can work on this. You've got to look at keeping things simple, so that you shouldn't be spending hours and out, like 12 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day. I mean, you can do a couple hours a day with Scentsy, and that's it, and stick to what is income producing, not what is busy work, because there is a difference. And there's a huge difference. And if you ever have questions, what is, what isn't, ask us, we can tell you. But I mean, thinking back to it, is this going to make me money? Is this going to be, and not just make money, but is it going to lead to sales? Is it going to lead to sponsoring? What is the end outcome by doing that task? But, pick your few non-negotiables for the day, saying I have to get this done. Like today, it was the pouch parties, had to get those done. So I got it done, because guess what? Those hopefully are going to get either sales or team members or whatever from it. But it's not going to do any good sitting here if I spend 8 hours trying to organize it all. That's not going to do me any good. So always figure out, is it income producing? Am I doing this because it's a fluff, or is it doing it because it's necessity? I mean, if you're worried about cleaning up things, it's like, oh, I'll follow up later. No, follow-ups take precedent over cleaning something up. Now, saying don't, I mean, it's real funny for me to say right now, because I redid my office and it's a hot mess. However, it has stayed a little bit because that was priority. Now, tomorrow morning, we're going to tackle some of this, but I got that done. And then I'm going to take the time to do the other. So you've got to manage it and figure out how to do those, whether it's you write your checklist, you figure out what you got to do, but you don't need to find things to be busy with it, because you should be able to be doing these basics. And like, if parties are out, they're working sales for you. So like, I've got a friend line right now that she has just had her like first real big party, and it's already at, like, she has sent me the updates each time, and it's $800 now. And she's like, oh my gosh, parties are the way to go. And I was like, see, try to book more off of it. Try to do the same thing. And no, not all of them are going to skyrocket. Some are going to flop. Some are going to barely get it. And some are going to be fantastic. But you got to have them that if those are out, those are working for me. So that's going to be doing sales and other things like that. So think about what's income producing versus what is just busy work, because you aren't doing this for time freedom to be spending all your time on it. Now, in the beginning, and up until this point, and we're not at the point that we can just sit back. But if you start doing things right and you get to that point where you've reached the top and you've started making these goals, that you're able to sit back in a way of kind of upkeep, and you're keeping up with your team, but you're still meeting your sales requirements. You're still building those leaders, but it's not so focused on, I've got to have heavy sales. No, you've always got to have 500 or more, but you've got to have at least the 500, but you don't have to kill yourself for higher sales. Right now, you're trying to do that to earn that extra whatever off your PRV, but your PRV is you get paid off of it one time. It is your money for this month. But then your team members, that's where you start building your residual income. So you've got to focus on that and building the teams and being able to lead them and have them build leaders and be able to teach it and keep it simple for it. So that is residual income you're constantly making, because as you start making bigger money, you're going to look and see and notice that half or more of your check comes from your team. Like then your money, then it's going to be all of it's going to come for your team and not just PRV. Well, right now, if you don't really have a team and you're trying to sell a bunch, you're making all that money off PRV, but then the end goal is to swap it. So it's all PRV or all commission off the team. And that is residually building. So anything else with that before we do Q&A?
No, I think we're ready to do Q&A, so we can stop the recording, right?
Yep. So remember, build the foundation, which is gonna, I gotta say it.
Oh yeah, I put it on there for you to say it. I'm waiting for you to say it.
In my tangent with this. Okay, so as you're building this over and over, we need to do less of the post and hope that we're gonna do it because we're planning out the business, right? And more of the action. So less talking about what we're gonna do, more action of doing. And then I encourage you all to share what you're doing in the team page, because that's how we're going to be better together and be building everybody up, is by sharing what we're doing and not just saying, oh, I made these or I did this today. Show us what you're doing. Show others what you're doing. We're going to show you what we're doing. But we're going to do less of, we're going to post and hope that we sell something or hope that we get somebody to join or hope we're going to do this, and we're going to do more action, less of this. Yeah, no, we sit here and go, man, I'm going to post a kid. I hope somebody takes it. Message people. I mean, yeah, every now and then you're going to look out and somebody's going to do it, but that is not the business plan. You're not going to be able to do that. That's not going to be sustainable. Messaging people one-on-one, having your dream team list that we talked about in the last consultant call. If you haven't watched it, get your butt on there and watch it because it's in the page. There's no excuses. And then you're going to know what we're talking about. So that's it. That's all I got. We're going to stop the recording. Q&A time.